From the earliest moments of my life, I'd always pondered the nature of God's voice. Did it resonate as a clear, audible sound, or perhaps it manifested through the words and actions of others? Or was it merely an elusive concept, an exaggerated tale told by those wrapped in spiritual mystique? The concept of truly hearing from God remained a puzzle, a riddle I couldn't solve. Just a year prior, at the age of 23, I found myself at a crossroads. I had made a solemn vow to God, pledging to transform my life and dedicate myself entirely to Him, just as I had fervently done at the tender age of 13. At that time, I was sharing a cramped one-bedroom apartment with my ex-girlfriend, who was reliant on Section 8 housing for shelter. My living situation was far from ideal, yet it was a roof over my head, rent-free. I had recently landed a part-time job at the Foot Locker retail shoe store located in Valley View Mall. Simultaneously, I was pursuing an associate's degree in counseling at Richland Community College, striving to carve out a better future for myself. Before this, I had been employed as a driver at a magazine distributing company for about 2.5 years. However, I had deliberately engineered my dismissal, naively believing that this would enable me to claim unemployment benefits and accelerate my path toward earning that coveted associate's degree. Much to my dismay, my well-intentioned plan spectacularly backfired, leaving me jobless and scrambling for alternatives. It was during this tumultuous period that a conversation with a friend, who happened to be the manager at Foot Locker, led to me securing a seasonal part-time position there. Navigating the job market was particularly challenging for me due to my criminal record, which acted as a persistent red flag on every job application I submitted. The dreaded question on every form, "Have you ever been convicted of a crime? If so, please specify," felt like a dagger to my hopes and aspirations. Each time I encountered this question, I was faced with a painful dilemma: to be truthful and risk rejection, or to lie and potentially secure a job. More often than not, I chose the latter, ticking the no box and fabricating my past. This strategy did grant me interviews and even jobs, albeit briefly. Once the background check revealed my criminal history, my employment would be terminated, and I'd find myself back at square one. Amidst this cycle of rejection and disappointment, obtaining an associate's degree offered a glimmer of hope, a tangible symbol of my determination to rise above my past mistakes and forge a better future for myself. But as I struggled to navigate the precarious balance between honesty and necessity, I found myself grappling with the deeper questions of faith and redemption. Deep within, I grappled with the knowledge that engaging in a sexual relationship outside of marriage was not in alignment with God's plan for my life. My criminal background only added another layer of complexity to my already challenging circumstances. How could I secure a well-paying job that would allow me to afford a place of my own and break free from my current situation? In my heart, I knew that the only one capable of helping me navigate through this maze of dilemmas was God Himself. But amidst the turmoil and sin that seemed to permeate my life, I wondered, could God truly hear my prayers? And if He could, how would His voice break through the cacophony of my chaotic existence? During this pivotal moment in my life, a profound sense of conviction washed over me. I realized that I was in desperate need of a lasting change, a transformation that could only come from embracing God's purpose for my life. With a heavy heart, I found myself pouring out my soul to God, uttering a heartfelt prayer. "Lord, You alone know the depths of my heart and the gravity of my situation. I feel cornered at every turn, trapped in a life that I know does not honor You. If You could open a door for me to stand on my own 2 feet, I would leave my girlfriend's place without hesitation. If there were any other viable options available to me, I would seize it in an instant. I'm reaching out to You because I feel utterly trapped, and You are my only beacon of hope. If You would just extend Your hand and help me, I promise to dedicate the rest of my life to serving You faithfully." 2 years had flown by since that fateful moment of prayer, a moment that marked a turning point in my life's journey. Now, at 25, I stood at the threshold of a life radically transformed. Somewhere along the way, the relationship with my ex-girlfriend had unraveled, fading into the tapestry of memories that make up our past. While the end of that chapter had been bittersweet, it paved the way for new beginnings and fresh opportunities. Guided by what I can only describe as divine intervention, I had landed a job as a professional bus operator, earning a respectable wage of $23 an hour. God's grace had been evident in every twist and turn of my journey, illuminating a path that had once seemed shrouded in uncertainty and darkness. On a typical early morning commute to work, I navigated through the quiet streets with a sense of feeling accomplished, steering my one-year-old paid-off 2005 Buick Century towards the bus depot. As I parked my car and made my way towards the entrance to clock in, I was struck by an unexpected moment of introspection. The instant I swiped my work badge to log in for the day, a probing question materialized in my mind, as if whispered by a third-party observer. "What are you doing?" I paused, momentarily taken aback. "I'm swiping in for work," I thought, dismissing the query as a fleeting distraction. Almost immediately, a second question pierced through my thoughts, catching me off guard. How did you ever land a well-paying job like this without ever completing college? This question jolted my focus, shifting my attention toward the divine orchestrator of my success, God Himself. Before I could fully process this revelation, a third and final question surfaced with undeniable clarity. Does your current lifestyle align with the promise you made to me? I was rendered speechless, paralyzed by the weight of the inquiry. It felt as though the very breath I was about to take jeopardized being snatched away, and would leave me gasping for air if I didn't answer the three questions in utter honesty. In that moment of profound introspection, I was confronted with the stark reality of my choices and their alignment, or lack thereof, with the promises I had made to God. It was a sobering reminder of the journey I had embarked upon, the divine intervention that had guided me thus far, and the commitment I had pledged to live a life respectably to God's grace. At that moment, in my mind, a realization began to crystallize. I had just heard the voice of God. It was not a thunderous proclamation or a booming decree, but rather a gentle yet resolute suggestion, a whisper that resonated with the clarity of a clarion call. At that moment, I understood that God's voice was not confined to the pages of Scripture or the echoes of ancient prophets. It was alive and present, even woven into the fabric of my everyday existence. Despite my shortcomings and uncertainties, I recognized the unmistakable cadence of divine communication. It was a voice that provided answers and echoed the sentiments of conversations long forgotten, which was assuring proof that God had been listening all along, attuned to the silent pleas and whispered promises of my heart. As this revelation washed over me, I couldn't help but marvel at the profound simplicity of God's communication. His voice was neither distant nor inaccessible, but intimately intertwined with the rhythms of my communion with Him. In that moment, I found that I was never alone, that every word uttered in sincere prayer had been heard, and my pleas for guidance had been acknowledged. With newfound clarity and purpose, I resolved to heed the call of divine intervention, to honor the promises I made initially in my moments of desperation just 2 years prior, and to align my lifestyle with the path laid out before me. It would be a journey of self-discovery and spiritual awakening, guided by the gentle whispers of God's voice echoing through the corridors of my soul. Amid this profound revelation, my gaze drifted toward the printout of my successful clock-in receipt. I found myself snapped back to reality by a gentle nudge on my shoulder. It was a coworker, waiting patiently to clock in, who had unwittingly pulled me from my introspective reverie. Shaking off the momentary daze, I stepped away from the time clock and made my way towards the building's exit, preparing to embark on another day of work. As I stepped into the crisp morning air, I reached into my pocket to retrieve my cell phone, and a surge of determination propelled me to reach out to Tirani. With a sense of urgency, I composed a text message, conveying the need for a semi-serious conversation once my shift concluded at 3:30 p.m. Tiarani was a transient figure in my life. She was a student at the University of Houston. She had returned to Dallas, her hometown, and worked at a well-known radio station during college break. Throughout the summer of 2005, Tiarani and I had shared moments of camaraderie, indulging in outings to bowling alleys, movie theaters, and restaurants. Our relationship, however, had extended beyond mere friendship, occasionally crossing boundaries that blurred the lines between companionship and intimacy. It was a complex dynamic, fraught with unresolved emotions and unspoken expectations, that had left me wrestling with conflicting moral dilemmas. As I hit send on the text message, I felt a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The impending conversation with Tiarani loomed large, promising to be a catalyst for potential change and confrontation. At least that's what I thought. It was a step towards confronting my convictions, reconciling my destructive choices concerning women, and aligning my actions with the newfound clarity and purpose I had discovered earlier that morning. In the quiet solitude of my thoughts, I realized that this was not just about seeking answers or making amends. It was a journey towards self-discovery and spiritual alignment, knowing that honesty and redemption were the only paths forward. As the clock ticked toward the end of my work shift, anticipation gnawed at the edges of my consciousness. Retrieving my cell phone from my pocket, I scrolled through my recent messages, stopping at the text I had sent Tiarani earlier. Just as I was about to dial her number to initiate the promised conversation, the shrill ringtone signaled an incoming call. It was Tiarani. Taking a deep breath, I looked up towards the sky, silently seeking guidance or perhaps a momentary respite from the emotional turbulence that awaited. With a sense of resigned determination, I answered the call, my voice tinged with a mixture of apprehension and anticipation. "Hello," I greeted, bracing myself for the impending conversation. "Hey, it's me, Tiarani. Are we hanging out later?" Her voice was warm and casual, yet tinged with an undercurrent of urgency. "That's cool with me," I responded cautiously, eager to gauge the tone of our interaction. "What did you have in mind?" Tiarani's voice carried a hint of wistfulness as she replied, "I don't know. Time seems to be flying by so quickly. I'll be heading back to Houston in just 2.5 weeks. I just want to hang out and spend as much time together as possible while I'm here, you know?" Her words resonated with a poignant sense of fleeting time, reminding me of the ephemeral nature of our summer companionship. "Yeah, I enjoy the time we spend together as well," I confessed, sincerity coloring my voice. "I think you're a great person, stimulating to converse with, and super cool to be around. I can't believe summer is already almost over." A brief pause ensued, filled with unspoken sentiments and shared memories. Then Tiarani spoke again, her voice imbued with a newfound resolve. "How about I meet you at your place later at 7 p.m. tonight?" "Okay, see you then," I replied, the weight of our impending meeting settling over me as I ended the call, releasing a sigh tinged with both anticipation and trepidation. A few hours had passed since our phone conversation when my cell phone buzzed with a text from Tiarani, informing me that she was parking her car. Seizing the moment, I quickly tossed the last load of laundry into the washing machine and made my way to the door. Peering through the peephole, I caught sight of her approaching the entrance. Timing it perfectly, I swung the door open just as she reached for the handle, welcoming her with a warm embrace that eliminated the need for a formal knock. As our embrace reached its peak, Tiarani subtly shifted her position, angling for a kiss. Instead, I gently squeezed her cheeks between my thumb and fingers, planting a tender kiss on her forehead before pulling her into another heartfelt hug. Her expression momentarily flickered with confusion before settling into a soft smile as she took a seat on the love seat in the living room. Taking a seat beside her, I took a deep breath, preparing to delve into the intricate tapestry of my past, a narrative punctuated by challenges, mistakes, and moments of divine intervention. I recounted the tumultuous period 2 years prior when I found myself living with an ex-girlfriend, grappling with the repercussions of concealing my criminal background and settling for a less-than-ideal part-time job at Foot Locker due to my checkered past. With vulnerability and honesty, I shared the adverse circumstances that had defined my former life and the promises I had made to God in a moment of desperate prayer. As the story unfolded, I found myself recounting the sequence of events that had led me to my current job as a professional bus operator, a testament to God's faithfulness and the transformative power of divine intervention. As I narrated the events of that fateful morning, I felt Tirani draw me closer, her fingertips softly tracing the contours of my face. It was a gesture of comfort and understanding, lending silent support to the vulnerable revelations I was sharing. From this intimate vantage point, I continued to share my reflections on the promises made and the promises broken. Despite the 2 extra years granted to me, I confessed my shortcomings, acknowledging the disparity between God's unwavering faithfulness and my own faltering commitment. With a heavy heart, I broached the topic of our relationship, acknowledging the joy and companionship we had shared while recognizing the need for boundaries. I expressed my desire to continue our friendship, to engage in meaningful conversations and shared experiences, but emphasized the necessity of refraining from the physical intimacy that had characterized our summer together. It was a moment of profound vulnerability, a candid conversation that laid bare the complexities of human relationships, the challenges of spiritual growth, and the delicate balance between desire and discipline. As the words hung in the air, I awaited Tirani's response, hopeful yet apprehensive, as we navigated through a moment of painful clarity, yet a necessary step towards aligning my actions with the promises I had made to God and myself. "So I guess that means I can't stay the night tonight," Tirani said, her voice tinged with a hint of disappointment. The look I gave her was all the confirmation she needed, and we shared a light-hearted laugh, acknowledging the bittersweet nature of our newfound boundaries. "Hey, how about we watch a movie, and then I'll head home," she suggested, her eyes lighting up with a playful glint. She recalled our unfinished viewing of The Butterfly Effect, a movie we had started but never finished, having drifted into sleep midway through. We settled into the cozy comfort of the living room, the DVD player still holding our paused movie from the previous day. As the credits rolled, Tirani gathered her belongings, and I escorted her to her car, our parting hug imbued with a mixture of affection and unspoken understanding. Fast-forwarding to about a month later, Tirani and I maintained sporadic communication, our friendship evolving as we navigated the complexities of our new dynamic. In the interim, I immersed myself in the study of the Bible, seeking spiritual nourishment through the teachings and music broadcast on local Christian radio stations. It was my lifeline, a source of strength and inspiration that anchored me during times of solitude. As days turned into weeks, I found myself yearning for companionship, a partner who shared my renewed commitment to faith, someone unashamedly walking the path of spiritual purpose alongside me. One day, while browsing online, I stumbled upon a dating site that piqued my interest. What the heck? I've got nothing to lose, I thought, drawn in by the promise of a free platform with no hidden fees or contractual obligations. Intrigued by the prospect of connecting with like-minded individuals, I crafted a captivating bio and selected a series of photographs that authentically represented my renewed commitment to God. About a few days later, my profile began to attract attention, with notifications signaling incoming messages. However, there was a catch. Accessing these messages required a paid subscription. Despite this minor setback, the prospect of meaningful connection spurred me on, as I navigated the intricacies of online dating, hopeful yet discerning, as I sought a partner who mirrored my values and aspirations. As I scrolled through the dating site, the 8th profile caught my attention. Laura, an accomplished young woman from Kansas City who had earned her master's degree by the age of 24. Her achievements spoke volumes, but it was her depth of character that truly resonated with me. I sensed a determination and honesty in her that transcended mere academic accomplishments. From the outset, it was clear that our connection ran deeper than surface-level attraction. We shared a profound spiritual affinity and mutual interests that laid a solid foundation for potential compatibility. Intrigued and hopeful, I felt compelled to engage further. It was as if I had stumbled upon the missing piece of the puzzle, the partner I had been seeking, a sentiment that seemed mutual as we continued to exchange messages on the dating platform. As our conversations evolved, Laura mentioned a cousin she thought I should meet, someone who shared a similar spiritual journey and values. She saw a resemblance between us, both in our faith and our personalities, and thought we might connect on a deeper level. With each interaction, it became increasingly evident that God was orchestrating our paths, guiding us toward meaningful connections that aligned with His plan for our lives. In my obedience and pursuit of spiritual growth, I witnessed God's hand at work, shaping my relationships and directing me toward individuals who would challenge, inspire, and uplift me. I found myself growing spiritually, experiencing a profound sense of gratitude and sensitivity to God's leading. He was answering prayers I had yet to voice, exceeding my expectations and revealing His faithfulness in unexpected ways. The moment of truth arrived when I finally met Laura's cousin during a visit to her place. The intellectual and spiritual connection was palpable from the start. We clicked instantly, engaging in deep, meaningful conversations that spanned hours, our shared faith serving as a common thread that bound us together. It was a defining moment, a testament to God's provision and guidance in my life. As I discovered a kindred spirit whose companionship promised to enrich my spiritual journey and reinforce my commitment to living a purpose-driven life. 2 months into our relationship, Laura paid a visit to my place and immediately noticed the signs of impending change. My belongings were packed into bags, the walls stripped bare, and photo frames stood upright, neatly stacked on the floor. "Didn't you say you have 6 days left to move? Why does it look like you haven't packed? Where are your boxes?" she questioned, a note of concern creeping into her voice. "Boxes?" I responded, somewhat incredulous. "I don't need boxes to move. I'll use small grocery and garbage bags. That's all I need." Laura's expression shifted to one of disbelief and mild exasperation. "No, Kevin. There's a U-Haul store I pass every time I come here. You need to stop by there and get moving boxes," she insisted, her tone firm yet caring. While I felt confident in my minimalist approach to packing, drawing from past experiences where bags had sufficed, Laura's persistent concern prompted me to reconsider. I didn't want to dismiss her suggestions lightly, especially when she seemed genuinely worried about the practicalities of my impending move. Conceding to her advice, I assured her, "I promise to get boxes tomorrow before I get home from work." "Kevin, are you just saying that?" she probed, her eyes searched mine for sincerity. "No, I promise you I'll get moving boxes," I reiterated, hoping to alleviate her concerns and uphold the trust that was forming between us. With a hesitant nod, Laura responded, "Okay," her voice tinged with a blend of skepticism and cautious optimism. It was a small moment, a glimpse into the give and take of our growing relationship as we navigated the nuances of compromise, communication, and mutual care. The next day unfolds with a gentle touch of indulgence as I allow myself the luxury of sleeping in. With my work schedule not starting until 11:15 a.m., I relish the extra hours of rest, a welcome reprieve after a long night of cleaning and packing. The previous evening had been a whirlwind of activity as I meticulously cleaned every nook and cranny of my living space. Every surface gleamed, every corner dust-free, and every item carefully packed away. The meticulousness was not merely a result of my own standards, but a necessity to ensure that my apartment met the stringent criteria for cleanliness laid out in my lease agreement. I was determined to leave no room for error, aiming to avoid any potential deductions from my security deposit due to cleanliness violations. Every piece of furniture was dusted, every floor vacuumed, and every dish washed and put away. I even went the extra mile to ensure that the windows were streak-free and the bathroom tiles sparkled. As I finally allow myself to awaken from a restful slumber, I feel a sense of accomplishment wash over me. The hard work and attention to detail from the night before had paid off, leaving me with the peace of mind that I had done everything within my power to ensure a smooth transition. With a contented sigh, I rise from bed, ready to face the day ahead, confident that I've set the stage for a fresh start in whatever lies ahead. At 10 a.m., the morning sun painted the world in golden hues, casting long shadows that danced across the freshly cut grass. The fragrance of dew-kissed flora filled the air, and every detail seemed sharper, more vivid, under the sun's radiant glow. I stepped out of my house, blinking against the brightness, using my hand as a makeshift visor. The world outside was a picture of suburban perfection. The grass was a vibrant green, mowed to perfection. The bushes were meticulously trimmed into elegant shapes, and the mulch beds were immaculately landscaped. Every detail seemed to sing in harmony, except for one glaring blemish. Lying on the pristine lawn, right in my path to where my car was parked near the dumpster, was a wet paper bag. It was unmistakably from a fast food restaurant, its exterior smeared with ketchup as if someone had used it as a makeshift plate before casually discarding it. The bag had absorbed moisture from the sprinklers, rendering it soggy and unappealing. As I approached, I debated whether to simply walk past it, dismissing it as someone else's problem. Yet, an unexpected thought began to weigh on my conscience with each step I took closer to my car. "Go back and pick up the trash," it urged. The conviction behind the thought intensified, almost as if guilt was nudging me towards a moral choice. I questioned the source of this compelling directive. Could it be a divine prompting? In that fleeting moment, I reasoned, I'd rather act on what I believe to be God's voice than ignore it and regret later. With a mixture of disbelief and determination, I retraced my steps to the unsightly paper bag. Standing over it, I muttered to myself, "This feels absurd, believing God is guiding me to pick up trash." With cautious reluctance, I pinched the soggy bag between my thumb and forefinger, making my way to the dumpster with clenched teeth. As I discarded the litter into the dumpster, my eyes inadvertently scanned its contents, and to my astonishment, there they were, about 15 brand new, unused U-Haul boxes, neatly stacked and still strapped together. A surge of wonder overwhelmed me, and tears of amazement blurred my vision. Unlocking my car's trunk, I placed the unexpected find inside, still processing the strange sequence of events. Then, once again, I heard that inner voice, clear and resolute. "In these times, I am teaching you to hear my voice," it said, "because distinguishing my voice from all others might someday be the difference between life and death." In that moment, the mundane act of picking up trash had become a lesson in faith, a reminder of the mysterious ways in which God's guidance can manifest, urging us to listen, to act, and to trust in Him who is infinitely greater than ourselves.